Hi friends, welcome back to the channel, and this is your daily news fix. So I want to give you an update on the markets, holiday shopping, and the government is printing more money. Let's just jump right in and I'll show you guys the headlines here. Treasuries, U.S. yields rise as market pushes back timing of rate cuts in 2024. You keep hearing this, that the market really wants these rate cuts. The thing I'll tell you is the Feds keep saying higher for longer, right? And moreover, don't necessarily think the rate cuts is a good thing. Because there could be something broken in the economy by the time that happens. Now, what's really interesting is that the markets are up today. This is Thanksgiving Eve, so Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And sort of the bet is that the Fed won't raise again in December. However, are they going to be cutting next year? Before the really optimistic people were saying, oh, they're going to cut, maybe June, something like that. Now they're pushing that back. But as I keep saying, don't necessarily take that as a positive thing. It could be that the economy is slowing by that point. So do keep an eye on this stuff. We'll try to track these things. Moreover, I guess mortgage demand is at a 6-week high. So if you are in the market for a home, the interest rates may be coming down a bit. And I say may a bit here. I'm reading, I guess it was at 7.61% on a 30-year fixed. You can currently get something on the average is 7.41. So it is coming down a bit, but you're still over 7. Moreover, I guess demand increased. So it says here, applications for mortgage to purchase a home increased 4% week to week, but still 20% lower than a year ago. And then the average loan size is 403,000. So that is the lowest since January 2023. So prices are coming down a bit. Mortgage rates are also coming down a bit, but usually this time of year is a bit soft because frankly, it's really a hassle to move during the winter and try to do this kind of stuff, look around at houses, this kind of stuff. So seasonally, usually now is a bit slow. So do keep track of these numbers, but understand that this does go in cycles. Now, in order to help you pay for your house, Biden is actually proposing a ban on cable cord cutting fees. Now, generally speaking, I think these are the kind of headlines and kind of news that really affect your life. I'm being honest here. The thing that's really sad about American politics is people get so caught up in things that just, in my personal opinion, are really unimportant. And I've said that so many times, and I'm giving an example of one that I think is actually pretty important. It'll actually affect your life today, right? So the basic gist of it is that Biden wants to get rid of junk fees. I'm not a fan of Biden by any stretch of imagination, but it doesn't necessarily mean I hate everything that he does. It doesn't mean I love everything that he does. But this particular thing is I hate the cable companies. Always have, always will. And I know I'm not alone. And evidently, I guess the companies will charge you, exorbitant fees if you, need to change your service, cut your service, this kind of stuff. So I guess the Biden people want to get rid of this thing. This isn't necessarily a done deal, though. I think they have until, I think the date was like December 13th to whether or not they'll cut these fees. This is a quote, and I'll read it here. It's kind of interesting. It says, according to the order, cable television is one sector where fees can stifle competition due to the costs associated with canceling services or switching service providers. So I thought that's a really interesting way to think about it, to where like, if the fee's so high to change, then you just don't change. And I'd be curious if you guys agree or disagree with that. You're like, I hate my cable service, but I don't change because it's just too expensive to change. I'd like to, but it's too expensive. So I'd be curious if you guys agree or disagree with that. And then the quote from Biden himself, he says here, companies shouldn't lock you into services you don't want with large fees. It's unfair, raises costs, and stifles competition. We're doing something about it. Now, there's another one that was really interesting. They're trying to get rid of what they call junk fees. And I'll read the headlines. You can read it here. Washington quietly scrapped a plan to save homeowners thousands of dollars. So, when you first think about this, it's like, okay, why wouldn't you want to save homeowners thousands of dollars? It's not that they don't want to. It's just that what they were going after, there was definitely pushback. And what it was is title insurance. So it's not something we talk a lot about on this channel, but for those of you in real estate, you probably know all about these things. I'll just say I was looking at the costs here on title insurance. So it's about 0.5% of the loan amount. And they were saying here for a typical buyer, so that could be like cost you $1,500 upwards to, let's say it's $1,500 for a $300,000 mortgage. So, as we looked at before, like if the mortgage of average one is like 400,000, maybe you're talking a couple $1,000s, something like that. It adds up, right? I mean, all the people who get mortgages all the time and get title insurance, and I guess people don't generally use this stuff that much per se. I guess it's if there's like some sort of question on, who owns the title, that kind of stuff. And I kind of essentially what the buying people want to do is like, figure out a way to trim costs on title insurance. But there's a lot of people who work in said industry. It's like 155,000 people. They pushed back, and I'm sure you guys know how Washington, D.C. works, right? And this is something where I mentioned with, say, the cable thing may not necessarily go through, because for all we know, the cable industry will push back and pay off whatever politician that needs to be paid off, right? So these are the kind of things that I think are actually really big effects in your life. I know it sounds like nickel and dime, right? But all these nickel and dime junk fees add up. Another example of where something I'm really against is the banks in the USA charge you exorbitant fees to use your ATMs, at a cross bank, or like late charges and all of these kind of things. I'll just tell you examples. So here in Korea, occasionally I'll get a ATM fee. I say occasionally. Usually they're free, generally speaking, but occasionally if I do get some sort of ATM fee, it's like 25 cents, maybe 30 cents. like it's really, really nominal. In USA, your ATM fees, I don't know what they are now with inflation, but I remember it wouldn't be unheard of to see like $3, $4 fee kind of stuff. And, it's ludicrous, right? So like I said, I am all for getting rid of junk fees, but obviously in that situation, the banks would push back the same way cable companies would push back on cutting cable fees, the same way that title insurance people would push back if you're essentially really taking an attack on their industry. So just want to bring that stuff up. I think it's really interesting and important to track these kind of stories. Moreover, in the markets today, I guess John Deere reported that higher borrowing costs is how they say it here. Headline: higher borrowing costs will hit demand in the coming year. And essentially the stock was down like 5% today. And then there was an analyst over at Jefferies, and this is a quote from them. We all believe that the market was getting softer, but not this soft. And I guess talking about John Deere here, I guess they were expecting net income between like 7 and 8 billion. And then the Wall Street, they wanted more like 9 billion kind of thing. So we are seeing a slowdown. And the other thing I was thinking about with the John Deere stuff is that may be cyclical. I say maybe, meaning that, when you buy farm equipment, how often do you need to buy and update said stuff? Does that signal that we're just not going to be buying as much of this stuff? Like I said, from John Deere's perspective, the headline is a higher borrowing cost, but I wonder if it's also cyclical, just bringing that up. If you want to, be able to pay these exorbitant prices that we keep seeing, or, with inflation and stuff like that, we've been tracking this AI story, and there was a fascinating headline. You can read it here. OpenAI engineers earning $800,000 a year turn rare skill set into leverage. So if you guys remember, we were talking about this to where the OpenAI employees were threatening to leave, and Microsoft said, hey, you got a job over here. And then the Salesforce was like, hey, you totally got a job over here if you want it. Here's the thing. If you have skills that are in demand and that people want, and that they're, more rare, you can demand a higher salary. And I've said this so many times for young people out there: if you're not sure what you want to do, go into this kind of stuff. Go into computers, go into AI, learn how to code. Evidently here, I guess it says artificial intelligence engineers can earn anywhere from 8% to 12%, 12.5% more than their non-AI counterparts. So that's pretty good. I'm telling you guys the truth. Most YouTubers out there won't tell you the truth. They'll just tell you, go get rich doing Airbnb stuff, or, buy my scammy class, stuff like that. I tell you, go be an AI engineer and you'll do well. I'm not just making this random stuff up. I guess on the OpenAI's website, they'll pay people $200 to $370, and then some of the more specialized roles $300 to $450, and then where you're getting that $800,000 thing a year is bonuses and stock awards. So you can do really, really quite well. So I just show you guys this stuff because I want you to see, like, this is a sure pathway to doing well if you're concerned about these kind of things. The salary for these kind of jobs looks like it's just been going up all year. Back in January it was around 240. I can see now it's at 270. So very, very good. And in order to pay these engineers, we got to print more money. For real, this is a printing money story. You could read it here. I did not know this. U.S. prints record amount of $50 bills. That's what I said. I did not know this. So we're printing more 50s, and we're talking about actual cash. So I'm not saying we're making more money, like, per se, but we are making more cash. And I guess what they have to do, the government has to decide how much they're going to print. Well, it's the U.S. Federal Reserve, so I guess it's not really the government per se. But it's essentially, though, they do have to put in an order for how much they're going to print. $50 bill is really funny because I don't even know who's on the 50. and not, without looking it up, guys, without Googling it, do you know who's on the $50 bill? Be honest. I didn't know because I just don't see them that often. And evidently, we just don't usually print that many 50s, but we're printing a bunch this year. So like in 2019, out of all of the banknotes that the U.S. prints, 3.5% of them were 50s. In 2022, 8.5% of them are $50 bills. So that was pretty interesting. And if you're curious, I actually have the I looked it up. There's a government website that shows you which bills we print a whole bunch of. So you have the print order, and it's interesting for dollar bills. The print orders all over the map. Is it 800,000 here, or is it 2.2? I think. Well, actually, how you read this though, the numbers are bigger than here because you're adding 3 zeros. So the total number of bills that we print is more like 6.9 billion to 9.7 billion. So there's a $3 billion range of they could print more or less, which is interesting. But we'll make it simple. They mostly print 20s and 100s, and then after that they print a bunch of dollar bills, which is interesting because theoretically we could print more $200 bills. I didn't even know we print these things, but I guess we do. We actually do still print $200 bills. I see it right here. Then you got your 5s and 10s are kind of the same, and then your 50s a little bit more than your 5s and your 10s. So, and if you're curious what the 50 looks like, because again, I rarely see these things, let alone use them. But it's Grant is on it, President Grant. I think it was the 18th president. And the issue is I guess he's bad luck because he went bankrupt. So it's kind of been a which I word to say, not taboo, but just a superstition to not use this thing. So I'd be curious if you guys knew about that superstition. I didn't know. I didn't even know who was on this thing. Moreover, which I think is fascinating is, and the question I posed to you, would the 50 end up eventually with inflation be the new 20? Because for years, 20 was just a popular bill. How else to say it? It's just like a popular bill the same way the 5 is and the dollar. The dollar is always kind of represented, I guess, not that much money. Hey, it's only $1, right? $5 is it just means more. You guys know the more. And then $20 when I was a kid, you could actually go on a date for 20. But I know I'm old. I'm pushing 50. So I guess on my 50th birthday I need to get one of these things. But and that'd be the question I pose to you is for young kids out there. When you go on a date and say, for example, how much cash would you bring to pay for said date? How much would you need? And this is just for young people. So I'm old. I don't go on dates anymore. Well, we do, but not dating that kind of way. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of a funny story. Moreover, actually talking about Black Friday, shopping, holidays, this kind of stuff. From what I can gather, I think there might be decent sales this year from what I can gather. So we'll find out, how they turn out. It may be a good year to buy TVs and stuff like that. Because the reason why is they're saying here, the headline is U.S. retailers brace for a tough holiday season despite discounts. So, you have to give big sales if you don't think people are going to buy your stuff. You got to make it cheaper. Moreover, they're saying here, this was the National Retail Federation. They think the U.S. holiday sales are going to be the slowest pace in 5 years. And then the Lowe's CEO had this really interesting quote. So he says here, quote, they're spending on what I call activities, talking about consumers, services, concerts, restaurants, travel, but that discretionary dollar is being spent across more activities today than a year ago. So they're not coming in to, fix his house and this kind of stuff, or fix not his house, but their own house. That they're, doing more things, probably kind of how can I say, pandemic stuff, to where before people were locked up and they would just order a bunch of TVs and, clothes, this kind of things. But now they want to go out and actually, do more experiences. One thing I will say that never goes out of fashion though, and I mentioned several times, but this is a good time to do it. if you are looking for a holiday gift, pick up a copy of my book, either for yourself and or for someone that you care about. So it's called Positive Angle. You can get it on Amazon. And honestly, guys, it's a good book. I wrote it, and I really recommend it if you're out there looking for something you haven't heard before. Please check it out. It's called Positive Angle. And I enjoy hearing people when they say they picked it up and they like the book. So I think you'll like it as well. Anyway, though, I'd love to hear thoughts on stuff happening around the market. And I hope you are having a good Thanksgiving and enjoying the holiday. And I'll catch you in the next video.